Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second Aikitalks. In this case, in this time, we set Andra here in front of you guys, and that's because she was in Japan last year at Aikido Kyoto. Um, Andra, can you tell us why did you go to Aikido Kyoto?
So the first time I went to Japan, I went to Tokyo. Tom took me to Hombu Dojo and to the dojos of Yasuno Sensei, and it was for me quite a shock to be there, and I had a hard time finding how to practice there. So I was asking myself whether for me as an Aikido practitioner and as a woman it made sense or not to go to practice in Japan. And if I would go again, where would I go? So after lots of thinking and going on with my practice, I came up with the plan to go to practice at Aikido Kyoto because it's run by Yoko Okamoto sensei, and because she speaks fluent English, fluent French, so I had the feeling there I could probably ask all my questions and have a very transparent communication with the teacher there. And also, for me, it was important to go in a place where there's a dojo, a regular community. And Hombu Dojo, of course, is a dojo, but there are lots of people passing through. It's like a open studio classes, and less, a home dojo feeling compared to Aikido Kyoto.
Okay, thank you. Um, how was your practice in that dojo? How did you felt the practice in the dojo of Okamoto Sensei?
So I made a choice. If I go for 3 weeks to Japan, it means I have to sacrifice a lot of things at home. I put my work on pause. I invest a lot of time, energy, and money into going to Japan. So when I went there, I decided I'll train all the classes. So that means the toddlers classes and all the adult classes, training every day, doing all the Zazen classes, also taking the train to the suburbs to go for training. So of course, if I compare with my training in the Netherlands, it's way, way, way more intense.
Okay, but that's true. That's also my experience. But can you tell us more specifically about the practice in the adult classes? When you go to the dojo and you enter, let's say the Nishijin dojo, and you go there for your after the zazen, you start with your Aikido class. What was your experience of that practice there?
So if I compare the practice at the Nishijin dojo with the practices that I've been having in the Netherlands, it's way more. Everybody seems to have a higher level of dedication to the practice. Um, yeah, maybe because it's embedded in the Japanese culture more than in our culture. We think like, oh, I'm doing Aikido, it's a hobby, and I give myself some pleasure, some time. And there, when they decide to take up something, either they do it or they don't do it. So this year, I also talked to one of the ladies I've met there, and she said to me that she's decided to stop Aikido because she, had a hard time managing her own expectations and the expectations that she has the feeling are asked from her, and she had injuries. So then she's like, yeah, if I can't do it full, I choose not to do it at all.
So do you think then that that feeling is a little bit different than what we are used to doing here? For example, in our dojo, we have quite some people who come regularly, but regularly one time a week.
Yeah, so I think in Dutch you have a nice word which is gedrevenheid. So it's the inner drive. I think in Japan, though one could discuss whether it's very healthy or not, the inner drive is very strong. Whether it's really their own inner drive or it's something embedded through education and culture is difficult to know.
Okay, thank you. But again, I want to zoom in a little bit into the practice itself. So you were talking now about the people who were there, but what was your feeling of how the practice itself was? What was the feeling on the tatami? What was the feeling in the dojo? What was the energy?
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I don't know. I think everybody experiences the feeling differently because it depends what you bring to the dojo and where you come from. So, and me, I was the outsider. I was the foreigner. So I decided to, yeah, my first year I just started trying to really blend fully. So opening up for everybody that's there, regardless of the level, and just trying to have a mindset. Yeah, I'm here to take in everything as possible, as much as I can. So to see everybody as a potential teacher.
Is it physically hard to do all that classes? Do you have to work very hard? Is it a lot of sweat? Is it energetic? Is it everybody work with everybody? Can you describe us something from that feeling?
Yeah, of course it's physically demanding, but again I think it depends how you set yourself to it. But I don't want to say like, yeah, to do these classes it's physically demanding, you are sweating, because you can do it any way you want. There are people from 70 training there and they're doing it their own way. I think there's a high level of commitment, and then everybody does it in a different way. But I think I can't say much that makes sense about this, because when I go there, I go for 3 weeks, and then I don't cook for nobody, I don't clean the house for nobody. I'm just there for training, so I can allow myself to go fully for it. If I'm in Amsterdam, I think I have to find a way to have a high commitment and a high spirit and a strong engagement, which still makes sense with my practical week.
Okay, thank you. Um, then another question, and maybe it's difficult, or maybe not, but I think it's very interesting. What do you think of Okamoto Sensei and her teaching? Because in my perspective, um, some people go to Kyoto because of the dojo, but a lot of people also go there because of the teacher. So again, what do you think of Yoko Sensei and her teaching?
Yeah, so I go there for both. I go there for the dojo because there are people in this dojo training more than 10 years with her, and I get as much benefit from practicing with them than from her teaching, and I go there for her as well. Yeah, I think what I like about her is not so much what I like about her teaching. Is what I like about her is that she's very passionate, driven, high-spirited person, that's questioning her ways of teaching, that is questioning if she's should do things different, that's questioning how to run a dojo, how to run a community, and to see that she's in constant inner motion and that there's a huge dynamic around that. Yeah, that's what attracts me. And side to that is, yeah, her teaching. But I think it's the way how she does all the things she does more than specifically her teachings.
Okay, thank you. What pops into my mind now is that when we go there, we do everything, as you already said, but we also do the zazen in the early mornings. We are not so much used to that. Can you tell us if you think it's adding something to the practice? Is it adding something to your experience there?
So I think Zazen is adding something to me being a more balanced human being. And so if I do it before my Aikido practice, it helps me be more balanced, be more open when I do my Aikido practice. And if I, in the most ideal world, I would do Zazen every day when I wake up, or maybe several times a day, because that's just helping me to be a better version of myself.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Andra. I have a last question, but it's a little bit to the side because now we talked a lot about the dojo and the Aikido and how you feel being there. But my last question would be, would you recommend your experience to somebody else, another Aikido person? And do you have advice for people when to do this in their Aikido path?
So I think again it's very difficult to be the judge of the choices somebody else should make. And when I'm in Aikido Kyoto, I see people of any kind of backgrounds and levels come to train there, and they come back every year. For me personally, it wouldn't have made sense to go before I got my black belt, because because it's a different world you're entering when you go to Japan.
I'm going to interrupt you. Maybe for people who doesn't know, what's your level at this moment?
At this moment, I'm a third dan.
So how many years Aikido practice do you have behind you?
15.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption, but please continue.
But I think there are lots of ways to go to Japan. There's one way to say, like, I'm interested in this culture, whatever, in the philosophy, in the arts, and I do Aikido at the side. And I go there for the scenery, the countryside, the nice historical building, the temples, and I go to practice Aikido. But then you're like what I would call an Aikido tourist. But there's nothing wrong with that, if that's what you go for. Me, I'm not an Aikido tourist, so I do Aikido because it's a way for me to grow as a person. So it's an intrinsic need I have to do this discipline, to practice it, to do this martial art. So it's very precious for me to go to Japan, and then I go for the Aikido, and I want to grasp all of it, and I don't go so much for the scenery. I try to combine it, but I go for the Aikido. And then you have to ask yourself, what is the moment that you have a whole body of work behind you? So when you come into an Aikido dojo, you right away smell how things are being done, when to take off your shoes, when to bow, when to join into all the cleaning rituals that are happening there. So when you have so much inner discipline that you voegt in, you go and melt,
you blend in.
You blend into what's happening, because then you're being taken along. Otherwise you're just at the outside and you're a spectator, you're a tourist. And
but that's also in the practice, because
yes,
you're now talking about cleaning and this, so, but it's for me it's more about that you kind of blend in the practice, and you can only do that because you have already a certain experience.
Yeah, I think it's because you have a certain experience. I think my background helps hugely, because I've seen other Aikido practitioners with a lot of years of practice, but not being able to blend in. I mean, I'm trained as a professional dancer, and as a professional dancer, you do one class like this, one class like that. So you're very much used to switch, to be very flexible, to adapt to anything that somebody asks you to do with your body. And you don't take it personally when somebody gives you feedback on your posture or on a movement or on a way of doing. And that helps tremendously to blend in when you go to Japan, where you also have the language as a barrier.
Short, very last question. Aside to all the practice what you did, how was 3 weeks in Kyoto? Was it hard? Was it nice?
Yeah,
being alone?
It's both. It's nice and hard, because you feel you're very alone on yourself. The contact with other people there in the street, in the dojo, everywhere takes quite some time to be built. People in Kyoto are way more open than the people in Tokyo because it's a smaller city, everybody's very friendly, but there's always a distance, so you very much have to rely on your own inner resources.
Ah, beautiful said. Beautiful said. Okay. Thank you, Andra, for this talk about your experiences at Aikido Kyoto.